The message came at 6:42 a.m. No greeting, no punctuation, no trace of warmth. Just three cold words on my lock screen. Mortgages due. I stared at the screen for a long moment, my fingers still curled around my coffee mug, watching the steam fade as if it too had lost its purpose. I didn't reply right away. I didn't ask how they were. I didn't ask if something had happened. Instead, I typed 5 words. My name is Samantha Ruiz. Then I turned off my phone and set it face down on the kitchen counter. And just like that, it was done. Not the mortgage, not the money, but the part of me that still clung to the idea that I mattered to them, that I was seen, that I was more than just the daughter who paid their bills while her brother played helpless. That morning, something broke. Quietly, like glass under your shoe. You don't hear the snap. You just notice the sharpness later. 3 months earlier, I had been at their house, the same house I had helped pay for over the last 5 years. At first, it was just the mortgage, then groceries, then repairs. When the roof leaked, I was the one who called the contractor. When Mom's car battery died, I drove across town on my lunch break to fix it. I never said no, not once. Meanwhile, my younger brother Lucas, well, Lucas didn't say anything at all. He didn't work. He didn't help. He didn't contribute a single dime. And yet, somehow he was the favorite, the golden boy, the one they always defended with a shrug and a soft sigh. He's just figuring things out. He's 28. That day at their house, I was helping Dad organize paperwork for their taxes. As usual, he didn't understand half of what he was signing. He handed me a folder and said, "Just scan whatever looks important." I didn't think much of it. I'd done this a dozen times before. But when I opened the folder, something caught my eye, a thick envelope labeled in clean, bold font, Estate Plan and Last Will and Testament. I hesitated, not because I was snooping, but because after everything I'd done, the money, the time, the energy, part of me wondered how they saw me when it really counted. So I opened it, and there it was, the house, the savings, the stocks, everything, all of it going to Lucas. Not a single mention of my name, not one word, just a closing line. We love both our children equally. I sat there frozen, the document still trembling in my hands. My name wasn't missing because they forgot me. It was missing because they never saw me. Not really, not ever. The worst part wasn't what the will said. It was how unsurprised I felt reading it. Like my body already knew long before my eyes caught the words. Like every moment of quiet dismissal, every time they brushed off my exhaustion with, "Well, that's what grown-ups do," had been leading to this, the final confirmation that I was never the one they were planning for. I kept reading, even though each sentence hit harder than the last. The house was to be transferred directly to Lucas. Not sold, not split, transferred, as if it already belonged to him. The savings accounts, every cent, were listed under his name. There was even a clause about the antique furniture set in the living room, the one I had paid to restore after termites ruined it last summer, to Lucas Ruiz for his future family home. My hands were shaking now, not with rage, not yet. It was something colder, numbness, the kind that creeps in when something you've always suspected finally becomes undeniable. I stared at my parents' signatures at the bottom of the page. Legal, final, smiling in ink. I must have been sitting there longer than I realized because Dad returned from the kitchen and asked, "Sam, what's taking so long?" I didn't hide the will. I didn't tuck it back into the folder like a secret. I held it up and looked him dead in the eye. "So this is how it is," I said. My voice didn't tremble. It was too calm, too controlled. "Everything goes to Lucas? After everything I've done for you?" Dad's face lost a shade. He blinked, then let out a long, tired sigh, the kind of sigh he used to make when I asked too many questions as a kid. "It's not what you think." I nearly laughed. "Really? Because it seems pretty damn clear. I've been paying your mortgage, handling repairs, buying groceries, and Lucas has been doing what exactly?" He looked down, like maybe if he avoided my gaze long enough, I'd let it go. But I didn't. I called out, "Mom." She appeared from the hallway, her expression instantly tensing when she saw what I was holding. At least she had the decency to look guilty. That lasted 2 seconds. "Samantha," she said softly, stepping closer like I was about to cry. "You don't need the inheritance. You have a good job. You're responsible. Lucas, he struggles." That word, struggles, as if it were a virtue. "You just want to make sure he's taken care of," I repeated. She nodded, relieved that I understood. I set the will down on the table, my jaw clenched so tight it ached. "Got it. Good to know where we stand." And I walked out. They didn't stop me. Not really. Not even when the front door slammed shut behind me. I didn't go back the next day, or the day after. I didn't call. I didn't text. And for the first time in years, I let the silence grow between us, and I let it stay. I was done pretending. Done waiting for some miracle apology that would never come. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. Because families like mine, the ones that thrive on control and guilt, never let go quietly. 2 weeks passed. That was their limit. On a Wednesday morning, while I was prepping for a client meeting at work, my phone buzzed. One text. From Dad. Just 5 words. No punctuation. No emotion. "The property taxes are due." I stared at the message for a long time. Not angry. Not hurt. Just stunned by how little they'd understood. After everything. After reading the will. After seeing me walk out. They still thought I would pay. That I would fold. That guilt was still stronger than self-respect. I typed slowly, deliberately. "I'm sure Lucas will handle it." 5 minutes later, my mom called. I didn't pick up. Let it ring. Then a new text came in. "Samantha, please don't be like this. We need to talk." Oh, now they wanted to talk. Now that the bills were due. Now that the roof over their heads, the one I'd been holding up for years, started to shake without me. I waited an hour before replying. "There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Now live with it." I hit send and set my phone face down on the desk again. I thought that would be the end of it for the day. But then Lucas joined the party. That evening, right as I sat down with a cup of tea, his name lit up on my screen. "Dude, why are you being such a drama queen? It's not a big deal. Just help them like always." I stared at his words, not sure whether to laugh or scream. "Not a big deal?" I typed back, "No. I think you've got it covered, since you're the favorite and all." He replied instantly, "Oh my God, are you seriously mad about the will? Grow up, Sam. It's just money." Just money. I closed my eyes, took a breath, then sent, then used some of that money to pay for the mortgage. Silence. Then, 10 minutes later, Mom again. "We're your parents. Family takes care of each other. We did so much for you growing up, and now you're just abandoning us." I nearly dropped my phone. Abandoning them? I had spent years making sure they never struggled, all while they praised Lucas for doing absolutely nothing. And now, when I finally stopped letting them bleed me dry, I was the selfish one. I answered simply, "You made it clear I wasn't part of the family when you left me out of the will. Now Lucas can take care of you." I could almost hear her gasp through the screen. That night, I turned off my phone. I didn't want to see any more of their messages. The guilt, the begging, the entitlement, it all blended into one exhausting echo of a role I no longer played. I wasn't their fixer anymore. I wasn't their silent sponsor. I wasn't the invisible daughter who held the roof up while Lucas was praised for breathing. The next morning, I opened my banking app out of habit. That's when I saw it, a money request. From Mom. $3,500. No message. No explanation. Just a transaction. Cold. Calculated. Shameless. It was the exact amount I used to send monthly. The number hadn't even changed. They hadn't bothered to ask. They just assumed I'd cave. That I'd quietly pay like always. That nothing had changed except everything had. I hit decline. 5 minutes later, the phone rang. I didn't need to check the name. I let it go to voicemail. Then another text came through. Samantha, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I stared at the screen, jaw clenched, took a deep breath, typed back, because it's not my responsibility. Try Lucas. Another call. Declined. Then one more message. We're going to lose the house if you don't help us. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. The dramatics were so predictable, so perfectly rehearsed. I could have written the script myself. They weren't about to lose the house. Not really. They had savings, investments, retirement plans. But dipping into those would mean losing comfort, and they'd rather risk guilt-tripping me into bailing them out than touch their own cushion. I answered, maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter. It didn't take long. Dad texted next. You really going to let your parents become homeless? I rolled my eyes. The manipulation was thick now. They weren't just poking at guilt. They were drowning in it, hoping I'd slip too. I didn't even argue. I just typed no. I'm done. Then turned off my phone again. I expected silence. Maybe another day or two of passive-aggressive texts. I did not expect what came next. It was a Friday afternoon. I was halfway through a Zoom call with my team when the front desk of my apartment building called me directly. Ms. Ruiz, your parents are here. They say it's an emergency, that you won't answer your phone. My stomach dropped. They're here. The receptionist hesitated. Yes, and they're being a little pushy. I closed my eyes and pressed my fingers against my temple. Please don't let them up, I said. I'm not expecting anyone. But I knew they weren't leaving. They didn't leave. 5 minutes after I hung up with the front desk, my phone lit up again, Mom. I didn't answer. Then the texts started pouring in. We're downstairs. Open the door. We need to talk. We're not leaving until you speak to us. No apologies. No acknowledgments. Just more demands. I stood by my kitchen window and looked down into the parking lot. There they were, both my parents standing side by side, arms folded like this was some kind of intervention. And behind them, leaning against the car with all the enthusiasm of a bored teenager, was Lucas. Of course, the guest of honor. I felt my blood begin to simmer. They hadn't come to talk. They had come to corner me. The same way they always did, show up unannounced, throw guilt like confetti and hope I'd surrender to their script. But not this time. I grabbed my keys and stormed downstairs, my heels clicking against the tile like gunshots. I wasn't scared. I was furious. The moment I stepped outside, Mom gasped like she hadn't seen me in years. Samantha, she cried, finally. We need to talk. I didn't move. I leaned against the frame of the door, arms crossed. No, you need to leave. She blinked, as if she hadn't understood. Excuse me. You heard me, I said. You don't get to just show up at my apartment and demand money. That's insane. Dad scoffed. You're really going to let us lose the house over a petty grudge? I let out a dry laugh. A petty grudge? You mean the one where I paid your bills for years while you planned to leave everything to Lucas? That grudge. Mom clutched her chest like I'd slapped her. Samantha, that's not fair. We only did what we thought was best for the family. I tilted my head. Best for the family? No. Best for Lucas. Just say it. The silence that followed was long, heavy, the kind that settles in your bones. Lucas, who hadn't said a word until now, finally spoke. Look, I didn't ask for any of this. I turned to him. My voice was steady, but it cut like a blade. No, you just sat back and took everything that was handed to you. You're 28, Lucas. Get a job. His cheeks flushed red. What the hell, Sam? I stepped closer. You want to be the man of the house? Start acting like one. You want the inheritance? Start paying their damn bills. He looked away, suddenly fascinated by a crack in the pavement. Mom tried again, softer now. He's your brother. I nodded. Yep. and I've supported him more than either of you ever have." Dad's voice hardened. "You're being selfish." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound, coming from the man who erased me from his will. "That's rich." And then I said what I came to say. "You made your choice. Now you get to live with it." I didn't go back upstairs right away. I walked around the block, twice, let the anger burn off in the breeze. When I returned home, the silence felt different. Not empty, not lonely, but clean, like something toxic had been aired out for good. My phone kept buzzing all night, but I didn't check it. I wasn't ready. Not until the next morning, when I opened Facebook just to scroll mindlessly and clear my head. And there it was. My mother's post. A sepia-toned photo of our family from a decade ago, captioned in aching italics. "We did everything for our children." Some forget, but we remember what family truly means. The comments poured in, sympathy from her friends, passive-aggressive encouragement from her church group, even a few people I hadn't heard from in years. One wrote, "So sorry you're going through this. Some kids just lose their way." I kept scrolling. Dad had posted too. "Family takes care of each other, especially in hard times. We taught our children that. Shame when lessons are forgotten." He tagged me in it, publicly, but the final blow came from Lucas. A full paragraph, drenched in fake sincerity. "Some people think money is more important than love. They forget who changed their diapers, who stayed up with them when they were sick. I would do anything for our parents. Not everyone can say the same." I dropped my phone onto the couch and just sat there, stunned. Not because they were twisting the truth, but because I'd seen it coming. They weren't just trying to guilt me now. They were building a narrative, one where I was the ungrateful villain, one where I had abandoned them. And for a moment, just one, I considered staying quiet, letting it pass, letting people believe what they wanted. But then I thought of every bill I had paid, every night I had stayed up crunching my own numbers, so they wouldn't have to, every sacrifice I had made while they praised Lucas for simply existing. No, I wasn't going to let them rewrite the story while I sat in the background. So I opened my own Facebook, the one I rarely used, and I typed, "I've stayed silent out of respect, but now I need to tell the truth. For years, I supported my parents financially, not because they asked, but because I loved them. I paid their mortgage, their bills, their repairs. I helped even when I couldn't afford to. Meanwhile, my brother contributed nothing. And yet, when I saw their will, I learned they had left everything to him. Not a cent to me, not a mention, just a statement that they loved us equally. So no, I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm finally stepping out of the role I was forced into. I'm choosing myself, and I won't apologize for that." I hit post, and for the first time, I felt free. The post didn't take long to gain traction. By noon, dozens of comments had poured in, not just from strangers, but from people who had known my family for years. A few cousins messaged me privately, saying they were sorry. Some colleagues shared it and wrote things like, "Proud of you, Sam." One woman I hadn't spoken to since college sent me a simple message, "Thank you. I needed to hear this today." But just as I expected, the backlash came fast. Lucas messaged me first. No greeting, no hesitation, just, "You're a traitor. How dare you air family business like that? You have no respect." I didn't respond. He didn't deserve one. A few minutes later, Dad called. I didn't answer. The voicemail was loud, furious, almost theatrical. "You've ruined everything, Samantha. You'll regret this. You'll regret cutting us off." But I didn't. Not for a second. That evening, I blocked their numbers. One by one. I deleted Lucas's messages. Then I made myself dinner for the first time in weeks, without wondering if my money should have gone somewhere else. I watched a show without checking my phone. I fell asleep without guilt. And the next morning, when I woke up to silence, it felt like peace. Until my work phone buzzed. A message from a mutual acquaintance. "Hey, just saw your dad's post on Nextdoor. You okay? Next door. Of course. They'd taken the drama neighborhood wide. I opened the app and saw it. Another long, winding post from Dad, written in his best concerned citizen voice. It's hard when your own child turns their back on you. We raised her, loved her, gave her everything. But in our golden years, she chose money over family. He didn't use my name, but everyone knew who he meant. That afternoon, I received a knock at my door. Not from them, from a neighbor. Sweet older woman from down the hall. She handed me a casserole and whispered, "You're doing the right thing, honey. Don't let anyone guilt you back into a prison." I nearly cried, not because of the food, but because someone had seen through the noise and believed me. That night I made one last post. Short, quiet, but final. You raised me to be useful. I raised myself to be free. No hashtags, no tagging, just truth. They could keep spinning their story. Let Lucas inherit the house, the savings, the chaos. Let them post. Let them pout. Let them weaponize their version of family. I was done playing the villain in their fantasy. I wasn't the problem. I was just the one who stopped pretending. Days passed, then a week. My phone stayed quiet. The silence wasn't empty anymore, it was earned. I kept waiting for the guilt to creep in, like it always had before. But it didn't come. No tightness in my chest when I passed a family photo on my shelf. No shame when I opened my fridge and saw that I'd only bought groceries for one. What came instead was clarity. I realized I had spent years confusing obligation with love. I thought being a good daughter meant giving until I had nothing left. That if I just helped one more time, paid one more bill, smoothed one more problem, maybe they'd see me. Maybe they'd thank me. Maybe they'd include me. But they never did, because they never had to. They knew I'd keep showing up. And I did. I showed up with cash, with car repairs, with quiet loyalty. I showed up when Lucas didn't. I showed up even when they lied to my face. And when the will proved exactly where I stood, or rather didn't, I still hesitated. Because some part of me believed that family meant forever. But now, I understand something new. Family isn't who expects you to break yourself for them. Family is who sees you, respects you, stands beside you even when you say no. That understanding didn't come from any apology. It came from their absence, from their silence when the money stopped, from their outrage when the truth came out, from Lucas's entitlement, from Dad's cold manipulation, from Mom's crocodile tears. They didn't lose a daughter. They lost access to my time, to my kindness, to my bank account, to my silence. I didn't abandon them. I just stopped holding them up. I stopped playing the role they'd written for me without my consent. And when they looked confused, when they called me selfish, all they really meant was, "You're not useful anymore." That hurt. It really did. But it also set me free. These days, I'm learning what it feels like to be still, to breathe without bracing, to rest without guilt. I started painting again. I joined a book club. I even took a weekend trip, paid entirely with the money I used to send them every month. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. Not my parents, not my brother, not the people whispering behind their keyboards. I don't feel guilty. I feel whole. Because finally, I'm living a life where I am no longer a tool for someone else's comfort. I am not a villain. I am not a savior. I am free. A few weeks later, I received a letter. A real one. Handwritten, stamped, folded into a soft pink envelope with my full name written in Mom's cursive. For a moment, I didn't open it. I just stared at it on the counter, half expecting it to whisper old guilt into the room. But eventually, curiosity won. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No dear. No love. Just a message, clipped, careful, and still somehow soaked in judgment. "We don't understand what changed. You used to care about us. We never thought you'd become so cold. You've embarrassed the family, but the door is always open if you're ready to be civil. I folded the letter in half and slid it into a drawer I no longer opened. Because nothing had changed except me. I hadn't become cold. I had become clear. There was no apology, just expectation. No responsibility, just shame wrapped in polite handwriting. They still didn't get it. Maybe they never would. They hadn't lost me when I posted the truth online. They hadn't lost me when I said no at the front door. They hadn't lost me when I blocked the messages or declined the transfer request. They lost me the moment they put ink to paper and decided my name didn't belong in their future. And I was done pretending that decision hadn't meant something. Lucas never reached out again. I saw he got a new job, part-time, something small. Maybe my absence forced a change. Maybe not. Either way, he's no longer my problem. He can pay his own bills. Or not. That's his choice. As for me, I moved to a smaller apartment. I stopped overworking myself to chase a version of success that only ever existed to make them proud. I took a weekend class in photography. I made new friends. I started choosing things just because they made me happy. There are still moments, quiet ones, when I hear a song that reminds me of Sunday mornings in our old kitchen. When I walk by a family laughing together and feel a strange ache in my chest. But it passes, because I know this truth now. You can miss what never truly held you. You can grieve something that never gave you shelter. And you can still be right to walk away. I didn't walk away from love. I walked away from a transaction, disguised as it, and I don't owe them a return. Not for the past. Not for the silence. Not for the healing. I've already paid, and now I live, not to prove anything, not to get anything, just to be free.